Okay, guys, thank you. Thanks for joining this live webinar today. My name's Monica, and I'm going to be the facilitator taking you on this journey. So today's topic is all about reaching for support, when to turn to coaching or therapy. And it's quite a delicate topic in some ways. And one of the reasons why we chose to talk about this topic at this time was for a number of reasons. The world is going through a number of stressful situations, and we know with the whole COVID thing how people were experiencing various concerns and challenges. And even right now, some of the issues that are going on a global basis. And there is that sense of people needing to turn to support and finding the right outlay to actually express themselves, to share their feelings and their concerns. And this topic is quite a sensitive one and a topical one because the ICF recently issued a paper, a white paper on how do we know that if when we are coaching, are we following the right ethics? Are we following the right principles? And say we are coaching someone or you are being coached by someone, as we need to identify that is coaching the right thing for that person, or should they be doing therapy? Should they be doing consulting? Should they be doing mentoring, as an example? So that's what we're going to talk through in today's session. I would like to welcome you all today. Thank you for taking the time out. And this is going to be an interactive session. This is for you guys, for our audience to ask questions, get involved, and there may even be topics or case studies which resonate with you. And if they do, then please feel free to ask questions or post questions in the chat box. So what are the things we'll be covering today? We'll be talking a little bit more about who we are and what our company does. I'll introduce the team to you. We're then going to have a personal story where Jessie Kindly, one of our coaches, is going to share her experiences of coaching and therapy and really explain what she went through. Then we'll talk about the two topics of coaching and therapy. Today we've got a special guest who's joined us from Dubai, a clinical psychologist. Her name is Hazar, and we're really grateful for her being here today with us. So she will also be talking through the work that she does and the role that it plays. Then we'll go through a number of case studies, and the case studies will really bring to life the things we do and the way it manifests itself. And at the end, you'll have the chance to participate in our Q&A session. I would like for everyone to mute unless you're talking. Please mute yourself to avoid background noise. And if you do want to ask a question verbally, then just put your hand up or just put a message in the chat, and then we'll let you unmute and ask the question. All right, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Philippe, who's going to talk more about what our company does and what we're all about.
Thank you, Monica. So as Monica mentioned, my name is Philippe Matthijs. I'm the co-founder of Reach Outstanding, and I have been in the industry, the corporate industry, for about 27 years. I'm an ex-chief operating officer, an award-winning executive coach, an ex-ICF board member, and I'm also credentialized at PCC level with the ICF. And just like people have different stages in their life, we've created different brands to match the different needs they have and to have specific offering for the people's needs at the time of the life where they're at. So for example, if you're starting out, we created Get Set Coach to really help students, first jobbers, new managers, and also give them some life coaching. As you move towards life and towards your career, you move towards executive managers, leaders, and CX. So that's when we move from the Get Set Coach to the Reach Outstanding. However, one thing all of our brands have in common is the value of ethics of Reach Outstanding, which is to positively impact the maximum number of people. And today's webinar is hosted by Get Set Coach, which is kind of the new and fresh brand that we have. So let me hand over to Monica, who is going to do a stunning job to introduce the team.
Thanks so much. Okay, so who we are, right? So we're a group of, we're a team of people made up of coaches. And I mentioned ICF at the start of the webinar. You may be wondering what the ICF or who the ICF is, and that's the International Coaching
Federation.
Federation. I got the F right. And so our team are either members of the ICF at the moment or working towards getting their ICF credentials. And for us, that's very important. So I'll give you a highlight intros of who everyone is. So I'm Monica. So I've already spoke about, I haven't spoke about who I am, but basically I'm a corporate individual. I'm hugely passionate about growing people and tapping into their talent and getting the best out of people. And I believe that our service offerings do that. Then we've got our 4 coaches who come from different parts of the world. They all offer different experiences. So we've got corporate, we've got a HR, we've got a LinkedIn expert, we've got a career expert, and all these guys, they bring so much great influence and so much great experience to help our clients. If you do want to know more about them and find out more about their profile, what they do and how they can help you, then please check out the website www.getsetcoach.com so that you can really delve into who they are and what they do. I'm now going to hand over to our special guest of today, and that's Hazar, to talk more about what she does and the role of therapy.
Hi guys, so my name is Hazar. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm Lebanese. I've been practicing in Dubai for almost 9 years now. I see people basically who have different like behavioral and emotional problems like anxiety disorders and mood disorders, like including depression. And there's different approaches that I use in my therapy. It can vary from CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and psychodynamic therapy and other approaches. I also believe in personal growth, and I love what I do. I'm passionate about it. And I practice in both Arabic and English. And I'm happy to be here today. And
Thanks
back
so
to you,
much.
Monica.
Thank you. Thanks, Hazar. Thank you so much, and really appreciate you taking your time out to join us. And as we go through the rest of today's session, it'll really become clear on the differences between coaching and therapy and why the 2 areas have so much importance within society today. I want to hand over to Jessie now.
Jessie.
I want to hand over.
I forgot my name, Monica.
No, never. And I think what Jessie's going to talk about today, it takes a lot of courage. It takes someone, they really have to delve deep within themselves to say, okay, I'm going to step out and I'm going to share with people out there my own experience of having gone through therapy, having gone through coaching. And so I'm really grateful, Jessie, for you offering to do this. And I want to hand over to you, and I really look forward to hearing what you have to say. Over to you.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you for your beautiful words. So I will share with you today my personal experience with therapy and coaching. So 8 years ago, I was suffering from anxiety, and I wasn't happy with the place I was and with the choices I was making. So I decided to go through therapy. So I went and I did therapy for actually 2 years, which I found very valuable. It helped me with my anxiety problem, and moreover, I understood better where I'm coming from. And I understood the whys behind all my doubts, why I did have low self-confidence, why I was making these choices. And for a period of time, after realizing this, I was okay with that. I was okay in a kind of way. I was surrendering or accepting this new reality of myself. I had all this information and I didn't know what to do with them. Okay, so now I realize why I have low self-confidence, but what can I do with this information? How can I move forward now? My friends, they used to tell me always, you need to love yourself more. And for me, that was always something very weird, because it's when I will tell you love yourself, you will understand that, okay, it's easy, but actually on the floor, it's not that easy. So this is where I actually decided to go into coaching. And that was actually a big revelation for me, coaching. It changed my life I can say 180%. It was the aha moment people usually talk about. So for me in coaching, I learned some tools and techniques to help me on my daily basis. I had some practices to help me understand that today I'm empowered, to help me understand and to gain a new perspective of life. It helped me to actually put plans and to achieve these plans, and to understand that today I have a choice and life is happening for me, not to me. So coaching, it was like a totally different revelation. It helped me to move forward and it helped me to get where I wanted to be. And for the first time, I understood when people say love yourself, what they meant about it. So that's why I decided to move forward with coaching and to coach people, because I wanted to give this little experience to people and I want them to realize that they can achieve whatever they want and they can be the person, because along the way, without even knowing, we are creating for ourselves limiting beliefs. So to sum it up, the therapy, it helped me to understand where I'm coming from, and the coaching helped me actually to move forward toward the better me that I wanted to be. That's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your
Thank you, Jessie.
insights. Yeah, really, really valuable. So thanks so much. Like I said, it takes courage, and anyone out there who's maybe going through a similar situation or wondering, oh, what path can I take? I think Jessie's story illustrates that actually you can do both, and they complement each other, and they can help take a person forward in more than one way. So thanks so much. All right, so we've touched upon coaching, we've touched upon therapy. What I would like to do is now give Philippe the opportunity to talk more about what coaching is and what the role of the coach is in terms of the work that he and the team do.
Sure. Thank you for that, Monica. So really, the essence of coaching is you getting a partner in life. You're getting someone with you who's going to be by your side and is going to help you reach your future goals. And future is a really important word in coaching because we really are future facing. And you also have someone who's going to help you overcome things like worry, uncertainty, fear. So all of those things, you have the ability to have a sounding board, someone who you can bounce ideas from. And also what's really important today is you have someone who will never judge you. And loads of the clients have, especially the first couple of sessions, are really afraid, because when you come to see a coach, in most of people's mind, for the first couple of sessions is, oh, there must be something wrong. I'm not good enough. Why do I even need someone to help me? And really, what the coach will do with you is really help you get clarity on your goal and unearth why those goals are important to you. So the beauty of a coach is they'll never take it as face value. They're going to start pushing you about to say, well, why really do you want to do that? And the way they're going to do it is they're going to help you create strategies on how you're going to overcome obstacles, how you're going to overcome what could hold you back to achieve those goals that are so important to you. And as you're going to see during the presentation today, coaching is very different from therapy. However, one of the hugely common things coaching and therapy have is both professions have a very, very strict code of ethics and have very, very high standards. And right from the beginning, even from the day one of training coaches, we are trained to recognize what falls outside coaching. So one of the first things coaches learn is, we're not here to help everyone. We are not one size fits all. And what makes a good coach, in my opinion, is also someone who has the ability to go, actually, I'm not the best person qualified to help you in your situation, and refer in a nice and elegant way to someone with more, with a different set of skills like Hazar. So without further ado, let me hand over to the star guest of tonight.
That's too much attention.
You like it, really.
Thank you. Okay, so what does it mean to be working with a therapist for emotional needs? Okay, when do we turn to therapy when we need help? Okay, so there's a few points here. There are like, if the person is able to function in their day-to-day lives, what are the levels of intensity of the emotions in dealing with life circumstances and situations? Are you dealing with past trauma and problems which stop you in your day-to-day living? Are your problems harming you or others? Okay, what does it mean actually? What does it actually mean on ground? Like realistically, how can we tell if we really need to seek professional help or not? So trying to make things more tangible, more easy to detect, there's a list of basically symptoms that if one experiences, then it will become easier to identify that there's a problem and then seek therapy. So these symptoms, they can vary from feelings of overwhelm, like you might feel like you have too many things to do or too many issues to cope with, to the extent you might feel like you can't rest or even breathe. So overwhelm is one symptom. Another one can be like fatigue. It's a physical symptom that can indicate depression or anxiety sometimes. It can cause the person to sleep more than the usual or have trouble getting out of bed in the morning. What else is there? There's also the disproportionate rage, anger, or resentment. Everyone feels angry, like at times. That's normal. Anger is a normal emotion, just as joy, as fear, as many other things, sadness. But when when this rage doesn't pass, or it's extreme compared to the situation, or if they lead to violent or potentially harmful actions, then that's maybe a reason to actually say I might have a problem and maybe I need to seek therapy. Another symptom can be like feeling anxious or having intrusive thoughts. So it's normal to also worry about things from time to time. But when worry takes up a significant part of the day of like our thinking, or it causes physical symptoms like difficulty breathing, like tightness of chest, like shaking, sweating, headaches, muscle aches, then maybe that's an indicator that there is something. Maybe that's anxiety. So therapy can also help deal with that. There's also the apathy. Apathy is losing interest in usual activities, like the things that we normally used to enjoy. We no longer feel this way about them. So the world around us, or life in general, can indicate or can indicate that there's something wrong. Okay, we don't feel about the world, we don't perceive and approach life the way we used to anymore. Hopelessness, fear, a sense of hopelessness, losing hope or motivation, or feeling as if you have no future. That also can like indicate that there is a problem, and it's not uncommon. It's actually common to feeling hopeless sometimes, and sometimes it's okay. But when it persists, then actually maybe there is a problem out there. We can also talk about another symptom, which is social withdrawal. Many people feel better taking some time away from others, like introverts, for example. They don't feel like they have a lot of energy to mingle with a lot of people or to socialize a lot. And that's okay. But if you feel distressed around others or feel being with other people is like it's taking a big toll on you, then maybe therapy can also help with that, like to understand the underlying issues. Why do I feel this way? Maybe it can be social anxiety, maybe it can be the overwhelming feelings and emotions that we feel I just want to be alone most of the time, because us as a human beings, we are social animals. So regardless how much we feel sometimes we need to be alone, sometimes we also need to be with other human beings. Another thing can be like if somebody has experienced past traumas and they feel that this trauma that they have experienced at some point, it prevents them from living a healthy day-to-day life, or like even remembering this trauma, it becomes frightening to remember, and it causes big distress and interferes with many parts of life. Then maybe that's an issue that requires somebody to go seek therapy. So in a nutshell, basically, this is why, like some of the reasons why somebody would like to go and see somebody, like a professional mental health worker. I hope this was like helpful, and it summarizes the when to seek therapy and when to go for coaching.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Hazar. And when Philippe talked about that coaching is forward-looking, is it true to say that when you do therapy, you delve into someone's past just to understand if there are any past issues and past trauma, and it's a backward-looking, forward-looking, continuous movement to get to the point of the right place for the future?
It is always beneficial to dig in the past, to know like the present problems, where are they coming from, the underlying reasons. There's always a cause for whatever problem we have now in the present time. So there's actually a difference between approaches. Some approaches, they focus more on the present. They don't focus a lot on the past, what has happened in the past to create this problem now for the person, such as CBT, like cognitive behavior therapy. It focuses more on the present, how to change things now in the present moment. But also sometimes it is beneficial, even in CBT, to know where that is coming from. A different kind of therapy, like psychodynamic therapy, that's more digging into the past, like knowing why am I this way? Why am I feeling this way? Whereas Jessie said, like my limiting beliefs about myself, where did they come from? It is most of the time related to something that we have experienced in the past, especially during childhood and growing up and experiencing the world, interacting with the world around us, with people around us. Sometimes some experiences or life events, stressful events, sometimes they do confirm some kind of beliefs we created around ourselves and the people around us. So it is sometimes good and beneficial to go back to the past, but not to be limited to that only. It's good, as Jessie said, the whole purpose in life is to realize where the problem is coming from, but also to work on getting better, getting to a better place, to work on ourselves. Like, what good would it do for me if I know, okay, now I know what the problem is, but how can I move forward from here? So it has to be a combination of everything, like looking back in the past, focusing now on the present, and also finding ways or solutions to proceed, to go forward.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thanks so much for sharing that insight. And we're now going to be doing the case study, so please feel free to post questions relating to this. So the first case study is about coaching. So Philippe, over to you.
So thank you, Monica. I'm not going to read the whole case study, but just to kind of put it into the picture, imagine you're a young employee who is in your career, and you've just been recommended by your manager to do some networking event, communication, to just kind of create your own brand. And for the sake of the case study, she decided to hire me. And as a coach, my job is to help her kind of create that brand through networking. Now, what tends to happen, I would ask question, okay, so why does it really matter for you for networking? And let's suppose she said, well, actually, I need to network because then it's going to boost my brand. And as a result, I can have a promotion. And I really want to go to the next level of job, which is an amazing reason. However, as you start prodding her, she's, what's her name? Sandy starts saying, well, I'm actually really, really nervous just to think about it, think about networking events. And I kind of, start having nearly mini panic attacks. So as a coach, I would say, okay, so kind of what's causing it and what do you do to fix it? And she said, oh, I might just go to the fridge and have some chocolates or something like that. Then I dig a bit more and say, actually, and to which the client would say, well, actually, I started eating a lot just before the event. And at time, it can be a few days before the event where I eat because, it's comfort eating. I always I have a sweet tooth, like chocolate cake, and I eat so much, I make myself sick. And then when the networking event comes, you know what? I'm a total wreck. I can't network. I have no energy, no empathy, and it really doesn't work for me. So as a coach, I would keep prodding along and say, well, is it something that happened a lot, or is it just recent because you really want the promotion? And let's just imagine that she says, well, you know what, I'm used to it anyway. It doesn't matter because it's been like that for years. That would be the trigger for me as a coach. I would go, wow, this is an event that's happened multiple times. It's got something to do way more than her being afraid to talk to people. The simple fact that she said it's been like that for years, I'm used to it, it's in the past. So at this stage, as a coach, I would have to say to her, well, coaching is really great, but however, I feel like there's something much more. There's something that needs to be more, let's use the word investigated and deserves some further digging. And at this point, I would refer Sandy to a therapist to go, well, Hazar, for example, how can you help Sandy? Because I think there's something slightly more than that. I hope that covers it.
Okay, great. That's great. So thanks so much. So really, whether I'm being coached or whether I am a coach, in both instances, I do need to be aware of what's going on in my life and be aware of the symptoms that are being presented. Do you think that's a fair way of looking at a situation like this?
Absolutely. And to answer Steve's question, in a way, at the beginning, it doesn't matter. Because take Sandy. If Sandy came to me, as a coach, it's also my duty when I realize that she needs more than me to refer her to a therapy. And I'm sure Hazar will cover something later, but in a way, it actually doesn't matter who you choose because both professions have a similar level of ethics.
Okay, great, wonderful. So then now we're going to look at a different scenario, which Hazar is going to talk about in more detail. Over to you, Hazar.
Okay, so Toby, he's a 30-year-old male. He consulted me because he was having severe anxiety, severe symptoms of anxiety. Some of them are the things that I had mentioned earlier, like the fatigue, intrusive thoughts, the worrying, the anxiousness, physical symptoms, muscle aches, all of that. And throughout the session, we were able to actually identify the underlying causes and reasons behind Toby's anxiety. We worked on these reasons. We managed together to make Toby reach place where he could manage his anxiety and his symptoms. He felt more at ease, he felt more comfortable. So the anxiety that was debilitating to him for a long period of time, it was actually under control. He had now the mental clarity, he had the physical symptoms like mitigated, all of that. So when we worked on these reasons, we reached the final reason, which is his feelings of demotivation and unfulfillment related to work and his career. So we had this area of his life that needed to still be covered. And that's when we discussed together the possibility of reaching out to career and personal growth, personal development coach. And he loved the idea. And that's when I mentioned Jesse to him. So he loved the idea and he was very excited about it. So now I'm gonna let Jessie do the talking, what she did with him with regards to the career path and the motivation and the fulfillment and the career shift that Toby wanted to make. So over to you, Jessie.
I think we have a question from our audience. So Steve was asking if they can do both together, and from my point of view, yes, definitely they can do both together, especially if someone is already in the state, in a mindset where they are calm now. Because when Hazar referred back Toby to me, he was like it's like he was like dealing properly with his anxiety. He's like moving forward, and now he wanted something different when it comes to his career. So that's why he came to me. And for me, it was just like I helped him to clarify what he wanted to achieve, and I helped him to come up with solution and strategy to reach his goal and build a structure to get there. So, Mabaraif, Hazar, if you can add this, do you believe that both they can go through therapy and coaching in the same time?
Both of them, definitely they can go together hand in hand. But it's very important what you said, Jessie, that the person has to be in a state of well-being, you know, like to feel that at least the physical symptoms they're having, the emotional intensity of their feelings, it has to be under control. The person has to feel able to manage these emotions and these symptoms they're having, so they can benefit from the coaching. Otherwise it would be overwhelming to them, and the process would be hindered by their own symptoms. So it can definitely go hand in hand, but first, the symptoms, if they're having like a clinical condition, the symptoms of what they're having has to be under control.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, both. So we've got a question from Reina, and it's quite a long question, but it's a very relevant one. So the question is, I'm curious about cases of eating disorders. I'm aware there are particular branches of therapy that deal with this, but as far as I know, the Arab region really deals with this depth, even though it's a real issue that people struggle with. Many aren't aware that they have an eating disorder, or even what an eating disorder is. In my experience, like Jessie's, therapy was able to help me better understand the factors from my past that led to the disorder, but not really how to deal with it in the present time. I'm wondering how coaching would go about it. No need to apologize, Reina, it's all good. So who would like to talk about that from a coaching and eating disorder perspective? Jessie, is there something that you could share from your point of view, high level, from a coaching point of view?
Yeah, I was trying to keep it to the other coaches because we didn't hear their voices yet. Anyways.
We're going to come to them shortly.
Yeah, so mainly, as she said, when she actually realized where she's coming from, it will help them to change, to gain new perspective. We'll go with them through it. And because somehow the limiting belief we created for ourselves, it became like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You get my point? So as long as they understand that I have a eating disorder because of 1, 2, 3, now it's time to act accordingly, because it's all about action. We can put a plan, an actionable plan, and we can work upon it. So definitely a present, but they have to have the will also to do it, because in coaching we don't do the work, they have to do the work. So that's it.
So it's about ownership.
Exactly.
Do any of the other coaches want to add to this point before we move to the next section?
Let me add quickly. Yeah. Sorry, Kartik, go for it.
Yeah, Philip, thank you. Yes, Monica, what I think is, the example talks about the eating disorder, but one is, of course, to explore where it's coming from. But from a coaching point of view, what I think is, looking at her the whole person, not only from a eating disorder perspective or maybe from a physical health perspective, looking at the overall well-being becomes more important. So why does the client feel that to address it is important? Looking at that and understanding the motivation would be the approach that as a coach I would take, and that would really help understand understand for the client is better, and also chart a path which could help them move forward from there.
Great, thanks.
In short, if I have to add just a line, a coach can help the client to move from a state of ignorance to awareness. If we can do that, rest all falls into place in terms of the steps. But the whole skill lies in helping the client to move from state of ignorance to awareness. And that's where I would come in as a coach. I hope that makes sense. Philippe, you wanted to say something?
Absolutely. And to that, I would add it will also help with accountability, because I think that's one of the forte where, I think Jessie mentioned it, we don't do the work for the client, but we damn make sure we hold them accountable to what they've committed to. I hope that the collective answered the question, Reina.
Reina, and if there is anything else specific you want to talk about, then please reach out to one of our coaches. So following on from real case examples, the one thing I want to emphasize here, that we have obviously changed the names of the people because we need to protect people's identity, and one of the ethics is about confidentiality and trust. So we would never share in-depth details to people as well. So I've got another question. It's come to me privately, so thanks for that. When can discrete coaching and mentoring for a client? Oh, can you write the question again, please? Sorry. Then I'll just because I don't understand the question, and then we'll answer it in a minute. All right, I'm going to move on to the case study, the other case studies that we're going to talk about today. Now, please, look, anyone on the audience, if you want to get involved and participate in the discussion, please feel free to do so. So now there are 3 scenarios we're going to go through, and the first one Mira's going to cover for us. Over to you, Mira.
Thanks, Monica. So yes, actually this also is a real life scenario. Meena has been one of my clients, name change for confidentiality purposes. She's single and works for a Fortune 500 company. She's at a senior post and has a team along with a global delivery role. Being single, her work takes long hours. And since she lives alone where her work is, so she's used to work at her pace and be herself. With COVID, she went down to her hometown and started spending time with her parents. And now her ways are clashing with the ways of her parents in terms of her working hours and her body clock. The domestic expectations from her parents, they have their waking up hours and their sleeping hours and their meal times, right from cooking to all other chores that one goes about doing and other activities. On the work front, a couple of her team members have folded in due to the COVID stay home syndrome, and others have some medical situation with family or children. And there are deadlines for her global delivery. She's experiencing complete lack of peace, harmony at home and at work, leading to frustration and pulling her down. Does anyone relate to this? Would anybody, any of the other coaches like to add? Have you come across something similar? What's on your mind when you hear a situation like this?
Or even anyone on our audience, if you want to, go off mute and share your insights, and please feel free to. Before I pick on one of the people that I know, before I pick on one of you, does someone want to put their hand up? All right, so then one of our coaches will please share your views. What would you suggest in this situation, Mira? What did you suggest, or how did you work with your client?
So we went down to identify what is it that primarily brought her to want to spend time with her parents, first of all, identifying the real motivation behind it. And then going to understand what are the things that she could start with, the baby steps, which according to her could bring some alignment or harmony between the ways of her parents and the ways of her life. And we started with that, and within that 30 to 40 minutes of coaching session, she beautifully, being a corporate employee, she understood what it means when you have an action to take. I didn't even have to really push hard. One thing led to another, and she identified some very beautiful small things, like all that her mother, for example, wanted her to sit with her and tell her what she's going to be doing the next day. All that her mother wanted her to do was over a weekend sit with her father and look at his bank accounts because he doesn't believe in internet banking. All that her mother wanted was that she wanted to be independent with her IT skills in knowing how to go on to webinars on Zoom and participating in the meditation activities. So one after the other, the things started coming out. And in that session, she could identify 3 actionable small steps, which with a timeline that would bring harmony in and peace, both at work front, which in return would turn over into within her work life. So without going into more details, we did find beautiful solution.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks for that. I'm just going back to the question that was raised earlier, and Josh, I would like you to answer this. So the question is, how can we separate coaching and mentoring for a client who lacks vision due to anxiety? Josh?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a good answer. So the question was, when can you separate when someone needs coaching and mentoring?
Yeah, when they're going through anxiety due to a lack of vision.
That comes, I would say that it's really a powerful intake that the coach has to do with the client prior to the coaching session, or in the front of a coaching session when you're engaging with the client before you get into the coaching session. Really try to do a quick, powerful intake there, and then you'll find out. Then you'll have an idea of how the session might play out, and how you might, and if there are other resources that might be beneficial for the client.
Okay, great. I hope that answers your question. If you want to ask anything else, because you're sending me private message, if you do want to come off mute and ask the question, then please do, or ask more details about it.
Monica, I can
Okay, awesome, Rajat. Over to you. Thank you. Yeah, can you elaborate on this a little bit more? And I know you've said it's a UAE-based issue primarily, then maybe
my name is Rajit. I introduce myself. My name is Rajit. I do a career coaching. I'm a technology professional and I do a career coaching. So the question, why I ask this question, because it's a common question, common problem with the clients in this region, especially who are in the mid-career. So whether due to the pressure, the family, every aspects, they're facing this challenge because they lose a job, or I can take, because most of people are in comfort zone sort of time. So whether they want to take a focus to a next career or continue with the same, because the situations change. So nobody know what is happen next. So this is one of I recently, in the last 3 months, I got almost 20 calls from my client and relatives, the friends. So have all this problem. I say, what is you want to do? I said, nobody have a vision because I'm in a panic state. Can you help me? I said, I can't help you in a state. You should have a clarity where you want to go. Then only I can help. So this is a stage commonly we are facing here. That is the reason I just want to brought up to, there is anything better I can do. So I got one point.
Okay, and then Philippe, anything you want to add to that? Because obviously you're in the region, Patrick, you're in the region, Lorna, you're in the region as well as Jesse. But do you guys want to share more around this situation and what you think people can do?
I think for me, it's also about mindset, and it's kind of creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. So some of my clients are in similar situation or wanting jobs, or even at time having to tell their team not so good news. And for me, the way I frame it with my client is also, how can you frame it to make it human, but not let it affect you personally? And one of the things we do is things like, how can you remain calm in those situations? So I've even done some deep breathing with a client, and I've seen some client really stressed. So one of my clients is normally, he's about my size, a really big guy, normally super chilled. And during one of those sessions, he was facing one of those moments, and you could, as a coach, you could see it on his face. For me, he was frowning. And I actually stopped him and said, hold on a minute, what's wrong? And he said, nothing's wrong. And I said, your body language is telling me something else. So I said to him, could we just physically step back and relax? And then he started kind of, I always have the saying wrong, kind of saying the tree from the forest and kind of stepping back on his own situation and go, it's not as bad as I'm making it up, because human brain is designed in such a way that the amygdala is as old as 10,000 years. And the brain was designed fight or flight. The first thing the brain will do is not go logically, is go, oh my God, it's a scary situation, let's stress about it. So that's kind of how I approach it with my clients.
So you're saying do some stress management techniques.
Yes.
And then and I suppose in this region we have additional issues, which is, you know, if we don't have a job, then we can't stay in the country and things like that. So those are additional stresses that people have. So what else do you think they can do to plan and prepare and deal with those sorts of things? Anyone from the audience want to add anything to this? Patrick, do you want to share anything?
Let me see if we need to unmute.
Nothing from my end, Monica.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Rajat, was that okay, or do you want to ask anything else?
Yeah, perfect. That's I got more ideas. Thanks for that.
Wonderful. And also, if you want to reach out to the team, you can, and just have a general bouncing ideas. I've got another question from the audience from Sanam. Hi, Sanam. Welcome to the webinar. How long do we need coaching or therapy for approximately? Does it depend on individual client case scenarios, or what's the minimum duration to progress? Who wants to answer that? Karthik?
Yes, Monica. I think I'll answer it from me from a coaching point of view, and maybe can ask Azhar about from a therapy point of view. So from a coaching point of view, I think it depends on, I mean, what the focus area of the client is. So there are client engagements which go from 6 months to 1 year. But if there is a very specific focus area, there are also sessions which is around, say, which the engagements which last for, say, maybe 3 months. So actually, as the question itself mentions, as Sanam has mentioned the question, it depends on the individual person and what focus area and what results they are expecting at the end of maybe, say, 3 months, 6 months, or what the goal is.
Okay, and then what about for therapy? Typically, how long would a client have to work with you?
Hold on, you're on mute, Hazar.
I am.
Oh, that's it.
Muted.
Now we can hear you.
Okay. So it actually depends on also the case and the problem, like what the problem is and the severity of the problem, and how long has it been going on for. Also, it depends on some personal factors, how involved and how committed the person is in the therapy process. Because it's mostly the client, the person that has to do a lot of the work. And it depends. Some people, they want to do therapy, but not everybody is really committed to it, because it's not easy. It is difficult to go through therapy because a lot of unpleasant things or painful things do surface and come up, and sometimes it's difficult to deal with. So a person has to know that and be prepared to dealing with that and being committed to doing that and to actually doing the work that it requires. So briefly, it's basically about what the problem is and how committed and active and involved the person is in their journey towards change.
Okay, great. So Sanam, I hope
sorry. So approximately time, I always say to new clients that basically it can be we always start with 8 to 12 sessions. Okay. Sometimes with some people it can be less than that. For some it can take longer, but to feel better, to start seeing change personally on a personal level, I would say a few sessions the person could tell if this is working for them and helping them or not.
All right, cool. Thanks so much for that, Hazar. So Sanam, I hope that answers your question. Steve has asked a question. How do I know how long I will need coaching to get a promotion? Steve, can you just hold that question one moment? In the interest of time, I just want to summarize what we've covered today and then go to the last slide in terms of questions and things like that. So look, guys, I think I want to thank all of you for joining. Now, I hope you found this informative. At the end of the day, every form of support, whether it's coaching, therapy, mentoring, consulting, they all have their place. And the key thing that's important for each of us as individuals is, even if we're really successful, but we might be suffering from lack of time, and that might be stressing us out, or it could be that we're over reliant on substances or whatever it may be, that really recognizing and taking that first step is really important. And that's what we wanted to emphasize here, that it's all about you and you looking after yourself. So whenever you feel the need for support, please reach out and take those steps in the right direction for you and for the people around you. And like the team said today, that you can use you can try different things, and you can try things in parallel as well. All right, so we, in the interest of time, we've got time for maybe one more question before we finish the session. But one thing I'd like to remind everyone on the audience today is that because you've joined today's session, if you visit our website, you can actually book a free discovery session with one of our coaches. You can pick whichever coach you want to have a session with. And also you can follow us on social media. We're on all of these platforms. So going back to Steve's question, how do I know how long I will need for coaching to get a promotion? Who I would like to give that to Philippe to answer, please. I know you're doing work in this space with quite a few people.
Well, let me start and then maybe Josh will top it. So it's a bit like asking how long is a piece of string. Typically, the way I do it, I will start by assessing where the client is at in terms of skill set, things like branding, what does it take to get a promotion, and then put a program with them. So the way I work with my client, I don't have set packages. It's not like, because I sell result, I don't sell time. So for me, it really depends based on ways where they are today and where they want to go tomorrow. So Josh, what do you think?
I agree with that. That's exactly, I also use a model of like a plant, how a person grows from a seed and blossoms into a plant that could also bloom a flower. So I use the same similar metaphors, but one thing that might come through while we're working with the client, Philip, is the client might have some self-saboteurs or be stuck in a drama triangle at work. And so that's where us coaches come into play, and we can break down those barriers that might be holding the individual back.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love the analogy of the plant and the seed, because that's all we are. We are all that, aren't we? That's how we started, and we grow and we blossom and we thrive by putting in and feeding ourselves in the right way. So thanks for those words, Josh. Really nice and heartwarming and really relevant as well. So it's 8 o'clock now, so it's time to close this session. I'm gonna stop screen share so that we can all potentially see each other. So guys, thank you so much for joining today. And the session will be uploaded onto YouTube. So if there's anyone that you know who might benefit from watching this, anyone who's interested in this topic, then they can check out our YouTube page. Please follow us on social media as well. We would love to have you keeping informed of the future events that we've got planned. So thanks. Have a great rest of the evening, afternoon, and day.